It's 205 feet tall with a base of 358 feet by 397 feet, the size of 2 football fields side by side, and it's an amazing feat of engineering and technology.
The Great Pyramid is equivalent to the Empire State Building of its day.
The Great Pyramid of Giza is a magnet for some of the wildest theories you will ever hear. Some say it is a perfect scale model of Earth, with its dimensions mysteriously tied to our planet's measurements. Others believe it was an ancient powerhouse, built to generate and distribute electricity across Egypt. These ideas may sound wild, but could they be true? Let's explore what might be the oldest cover-up in history. How did they build it? Cleopatra, the famous Egyptian queen, lived closer in time to the first iPhone's release in 2007 than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza around 2600 BC. Let that settle in for a moment. This comparison shows just how ancient the pyramids are, and with that age comes endless questions and mysteries, many of which remain unanswered. One of the biggest mysteries is how the Great Pyramid was built. This massive structure was created long before the wheel was used for transporting goods or heavy loads. At that time, tools made of iron or steel had not even been discovered, and this makes it difficult to explain how they could carve and move such massive stones. The Pyramid of Khufu, also known as the Great Pyramid, consists of about 2.3 million stone blocks. Each block weighs between 2.5 and 16 tons. Some of these stones, especially the ones used in the inner chambers, were transported from quarries as far as 500 miles away in Aswan. Moving them across such distances without modern technology seems nearly impossible, yet the ancient Egyptians managed it. One theory suggests they used sleds and water. A painting in the tomb of Jehuti-Hotep shows men dragging a massive statue on a sled, with someone pouring water onto the sand in front of it. Initially, historians thought this was some sort of ceremonial act. However, modern physicist Daniel Bond discovered that adding just the right amount of water, about 2 to 5% of the sand's volume, made the sand stiffer. This reduced friction and made it much easier to drag heavy objects. It's possible the Egyptians used this method to transport the huge stone blocks to the construction site. But transporting the blocks was just one part of the challenge. How did they lift them into place without machines? Archaeologists found a ramp in a quarry dating back to the time of Khufu's pyramid, which showed that Egyptians could pull stones up steep inclines. This discovery led to the theory that ramps were used to haul stones up the pyramid's sides. These ramps could have been straight and long, spiraling around the pyramid, or even built inside it. The exact system is unknown, though. Moving a 16-ton stone up a ramp, even with sleds or rollers, remains difficult to explain. Then there is the precision of the construction. Some of the blocks are so perfectly fitted together that even a strand of human hair can't fit between them. This level of accuracy raises more questions. How could they achieve such tight joints with tools made of copper? Interestingly, no copper chisels have ever been found on the Giza Plateau, despite the scale of the work. This has led some researchers to explore other possibilities. One controversial theory suggests that the limestone blocks aren't natural stones at all, but are instead made of concrete. According to this idea, the Egyptians poured a type of cement mixture into molds to create the blocks right at the construction site. French scientists who support this theory claim they were not allowed to take samples from the pyramid to prove their hypothesis. They argue that creating such narrow joints would have been much easier with formed concrete than with quarried stone, especially without advanced milling tools. If true, this theory would also solve the problem of how the massive stones were moved. They would not need to be transported at all. Of course, many experts dismiss the concrete theory as unrealistic. They believe the blocks are natural limestone and that the Egyptians had other methods to achieve such precision. But the debate continues, and no single explanation has been universally accepted. As we piece together these theories, the mystery of how the pyramids were built only deepens. Even with modern technology and knowledge, replicating such a feat today would be a monumental challenge. Yet, the ancient Egyptians did it thousands of years ago, leaving us to wonder just how advanced their methods and understanding truly were. And if the mystery of how the pyramids were built wasn't enough, there is something even stranger about the Great Pyramid. Tombs or something more. What is the real reason behind the construction of the pyramids? This question has left many puzzled for ages. Some reckon they were burial places for pharaohs. Others ponder if they served as storehouses, testing grounds, or even some sort of old-school energy generator. The truth remains a mystery. Now let's focus on what we are sure about. Back in the day in Egypt, burning the dead wasn't a common practice. Instead, they turned bodies into mummies and tucked them away in tombs. They buried their dead with various items. This included food, clothes, jewelry, weapons, even animals. Now, the ancient Egyptians used to do this because they believed that human life continues even after death. They wanted the dead to have all the comforts of life beyond the grave. The Great Pyramid, for instance, is often thought to be the place where King Khufu was buried. But the thing is, no mummies have ever been found inside any of the pyramids. This alone raises a big question. If these were not tombs, what exactly were they? Some experts argue that the pyramids must have had another purpose. Because why build something so massive and precise just to hold a body? The mystery gets deeper when you consider all the time and effort it took to construct the pyramids. And it wasn't just this alone. The tools that were used, the knowledge the Egyptians had, and the sheer scale of the work is unbelievable. Whatever the reason, the pyramids were, without a doubt, clearly meant something important. And speaking of important, there is a curious connection between the layout of the pyramids and the stars in the Orion constellation. Connection with the stars. The Egyptian pyramids may have a connection to the stars. This idea has led to debates, theories, and discussions. Some believe there was some kind of cosmic connection. It might have been that the ancient Egyptians built these impressive structures to align with stars or planets. Others contend that any such alignment is coincidental. No matter your angle, this idea has fascinated for decades, and it is easy to see why. The skies were of great interest to ancient Egyptians. They did not just watch the stars for fun. They used them to track time. The constellations guided them on when to plant and harvest crops. With such focus on the night sky, it is easy to see how this knowledge might have influenced the design of key structures like the pyramids. However, there is no consensus on whether the pyramids were truly aligned with the stars. Over time, researchers have proposed many ideas about possible connections between the pyramids and the heavens, especially those in the Giza complex. The problem is, these monuments were built over 4,400 years ago during Egypt's Old Kingdom. So any star alignments must match how the sky appeared back then, not as it looks now. In the 1980s, a researcher named Robert Bauval came up with a bold theory that caught people's attention. He noticed something interesting about the three main pyramids at Giza. Their layout on the ground seemed to match the positions of the three stars in Orion's belt. It wasn't a perfect match, but it was close enough to raise eyebrows. Bauval didn't stop there. In his 1995 book, The Orion Mystery, he expanded on his idea. In it, he suggested that the pyramids were not just tombs, but were gateways to the stars. According to him, the constellation Orion played a huge role in how and why the pyramids were built. His idea became known as the Orion correlation theory, and it gained a lot of fans. But not everyone was convinced. Critics had a different take. They said Bauval's theory was a classic example of pareidolia, a term used to describe the human tendency to find patterns where none actually exist. Have you ever looked at the moon and thought it looked like a face? That is pareidolia in action. Skeptics argued that Bauval was seeing a connection that wasn't really there. Critics also pointed out something else. The pyramids were not constructed at the same time. For instance, the Pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest of the three, sits farther away from the others. Many believe it was added later, almost as an afterthought. Because of this, some argue the spacing of the pyramids wasn't intentionally designed to reflect Orion's belt. Now, as for Bauval's theory, it didn't end with just the pyramid's arrangement. It opened up questions about what else might connect these ancient structures to the stars. Some of these ideas come from the design of the Great Pyramid itself. Deep inside, there are two narrow shafts extending from the so-called King's Chamber. Were these just air shafts, or were they meant for something more? Some researchers think they might hold a clue about the ancient Egyptians' view of the afterlife. The mystery of the shafts. Hidden inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, two narrow shafts stretch out from a chamber often called the King's Chamber. Their purpose has led to endless debate. Some experts have suggested the shafts were built as air vents, but others argue this doesn't make sense. Why would the dead need fresh air? Another theory goes much deeper, proposing that these shafts were pathways to the stars, connecting the pharaoh's soul to the heavens. In the 1960s, a group of Egyptologists dug into this mystery. Two of them, Virginia Trimble and Alexander Badawi, claimed that these weren't just random tunnels. They might have been star shafts. According to their findings, one shaft pointed toward the North Star as it appeared thousands of years ago. The other seemed to aim at Orion's belt. These sections of the sky were important to the ancient Egyptians and tied to their beliefs about life after death. The North Star, part of the imperishable stars, held deep meaning in Egyptian culture. These stars, which never set, symbolized eternity. The Egyptians believed that when their pharaohs died, their souls would join these unchanging stars, achieving immortality. Orion's belt was equally significant. The constellation was linked to Sa, a celestial figure seen as the father of the gods. For the Egyptians, this connection between the stars and their rulers was more than symbolic. It was spiritual. But the shafts weren't exactly practical for stargazing. They were not straight tunnels. Instead, they had twists and turns, and large stones sealed their ends. This has made it nearly impossible for researchers to determine what they were really for. Even with modern tools, their true purpose has remained one of the pyramid's longest-standing puzzles. In an effort to solve this riddle, researchers from Leeds University took on the challenge in 2020. Their goal was to explore every inch of one of the shafts, using advanced technology to uncover its secrets. They designed a small robot capable of navigating the narrow, twisting tunnel. The robot carried a camera and slowly made its way through all 200 feet of the shaft, recording hours of footage. When the robot reached the end, it uncovered something unexpected. A large stone had been placed to block the shaft's exit, but the robot's camera slipped past it. What it found was a tiny chamber with symbols drawn on its floor. This discovery added a layer of intrigue. Why were these symbols there? And what were they meant to represent? Before researchers could answer these questions, the robot hit another obstacle. There was a second stone blocking the way forward. Rob Richardson, a robotics professor and leader of the project, expressed the team's frustration and curiosity. He explained that the markings inside the chamber suggested the shaft served a bigger purpose than just ventilation. But what lay beyond the second stone remained a mystery. The team had hoped to dig deeper, but their work came to an unexpected halt. Security concerns in Egypt forced them to cut their project short, leaving the mystery unresolved. What might be behind that second stone is anyone's guess. It could be another chamber, more symbols, or perhaps something entirely unexpected. For now, the answers remain locked away, waiting for someone else to pick up where they left off. This discovery has left many wondering about the true purpose of the shafts. Were they simply symbolic? Or did they play a larger role in ancient Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife and the cosmos? The precise alignment of the shafts with certain stars seems too deliberate to be accidental. Yet without direct evidence, the debate continues. But the mystery of the shafts might only scratch the surface. There are theories that go far beyond the stars. Now, it is time for today's subscriber's pick. Take a good look at this image. On the left, you see the Great Pyramid of Giza, an ancient structure that has stood for thousands of years. Its worn stones and massive size are nothing short of mesmerizing. But then on the right, there is something equally striking. There is a depiction of people dragging what looks like a massive stone block, possibly hinting at how the pyramid was constructed. This contrast brings up so many questions about the ancient world and what we still don't know. What really happened here? Could this be a clue to the secrets of pyramid construction? Or is it just another interpretation that only scratches the surface of the truth? The Great Pyramid no doubt holds countless secrets, and some suggest it might even involve the oldest cover-up in history. For centuries, there have been many theories about how the pyramids came to be. Did they really use sleds and manpower? Or was there some advanced knowledge lost to us now? What do you think when you see this image? Could ancient Egyptians have known something we don't? Or are we just overthinking the whole thing? Let us know your thoughts. Now, some researchers believe the Great Pyramid had a purpose that defies conventional understanding, hinting at technologies or functions that seem almost impossible for its time. Ancient power grid. For centuries, the Great Pyramid of Giza has long been seen as a grand tomb for Egypt's pharaohs and queens. However, some researchers think there is another explanation. In 1998, Christopher Dunn introduced a new theory. He revisited it again in 2010. His theory was that the Great Pyramid could have been an extremely developed structure, perhaps for the purposes of producing and distributing electrical power throughout ancient Egypt. One of the points that is often made concerning this theory is the lack of inscriptions. Most of the tombs around the world are filled with carvings or some sort of texts or symbols that were meant to honor the deceased or tell some story. Well, the corridors and chambers of the Great Pyramid have no trace of any writing. Even more puzzling is the so-called King's Chamber chest that was carved from granite. For a long time, it has been believed to be the pharaoh's coffin. Currently, it is empty, and it is believed that the body could have been stolen. However, no chemical traces of the buried body have been detected inside this granite chest. In addition, closer analysis of the chest and its location has revealed some surprising details. Researchers suggest the chest might not have been meant for burial at all. Instead, it could have been part of a system to generate electricity. They believe that placing a highly conductive material inside the chest would have made this possible. This idea ties into another intriguing theory, and this is the connection between the pyramid and the Ark of the Covenant. According to some historians, the Ark was a powerful device capable of releasing deadly bursts of energy. They claim it might have acted as a condenser, storing and releasing electrical power. It has even been suggested that the Ark could have been placed inside the granite chest to help power the pyramid. But how could such a massive structure generate electricity? The materials used in its construction provide some clues. The pyramid was originally covered in white limestone, which is a material with strong insulating properties. This coating would have prevented electrical leakage. Meanwhile, the inner blocks of the pyramid were made from a different type of limestone that conducts electricity well. The use of these two materials side by side seems too deliberate to be a coincidence. Another critical element in this theory is the granite used throughout the pyramid, particularly in the subterranean chambers and passageways. Granite contains a high percentage of quartz crystals, which have piezoelectric properties. This means that quartz can generate an electrical charge when mechanical stress is applied to it. You have likely seen this principle at work in quartz watches, where tiny amounts of pressure create a steady electric current. Researchers propose that the Nile River, which once flowed closer to the pyramids than it does today, may have played a crucial role. The river's powerful currents could have created the necessary pressure on the granite blocks, activating their piezoelectric properties. This could explain the network of underground chambers and tunnels beneath the pyramid, many of which are made from granite. These spaces might have been designed to harness and channel energy from the river's flow. Granite doesn't just have piezoelectric properties, it also has electromagnetic qualities. This means it can ionize the surrounding air and improve electrical conductivity. The current generated underground would have traveled upward through the pyramid, moving from chamber to chamber, each lined with granite. As the electricity rose, an electromagnetic field would have been created at the pyramid's base. From there, the energy would have been concentrated and transmitted to the upper layers of the structure. This might be how the pyramid generated and stored electricity on such a large scale. What happened to this energy? That is where things get even more mysterious. Electromagnetic Mysteries of the Great Pyramid. At this point, let's explore how the electricity generated by the Great Pyramid may have been transmitted wirelessly. Some historians believe a pyramid-shaped piece of gold once sat at its peak, though it is now missing. According to these theories, this golden peak may have played a critical role in transferring energy from the pyramid into the surrounding environment. But how would this system have worked? Let's break it down step by step. First, the Great Pyramid itself is thought to have had properties that allowed it to store electrical charges. As mentioned before, its exterior was originally covered in white limestone, which acted as an insulator, preventing any energy from leaking out. This insulating layer kept the energy contained within the structure, ready to be directed as needed. The missing golden capstone would have served as a conductive pathway, channeling the excess electric charge upward and releasing it into the ionosphere, a layer of the Earth's atmosphere. Gold, being an excellent conductor of electricity, was ideal for this purpose. The late inventor Nikola Tesla had a theory that helps explain this process. Tesla described Earth as part of a giant electrical system, which he called the Earth ionosphere capacitor model. In this system, the Earth's surface acts as the negative plate of a massive capacitor, while the ionosphere acts as the positive plate. Between these two plates, there is a massive potential difference. Scientists estimate it to be around 400,000 volts. This electric field grows stronger with height, increasing by about 100 volts for every meter above the ground. At the top of the Great Pyramid, this field would have reached its peak, creating around 14,600 volts of potential energy. In the 19th century, German engineer Sir William Siemens climbed to the top of the pyramid. There, he experienced something extraordinary. When he raised his finger into the air, he reportedly felt a strange tingling sensation running through his hand. Accounts suggest this might have been caused by the electric charge present at the pyramid's peak, further hinting at its ability to interact with the Earth's electric field. But the pyramid's electrical capabilities don't stop there. In 2018, a team of Russian researchers conducted a study to explore the pyramid's interaction with electromagnetic waves. Using the medium wave range of the electromagnetic spectrum, wavelengths between 200 and 600 meters, they discovered something remarkable. Under certain conditions, the pyramid could concentrate electromagnetic energy in specific areas, including the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and beneath its base. This phenomenon occurred when the pyramid was in resonance with the radio waves, essentially amplifying and focusing the energy. The researchers suggested that this ancient ability to concentrate electromagnetic waves could inspire modern technologies. For example, the principles used in the Great Pyramid's design might help improve the efficiency of solar cells or lead to the development of highly advanced sensors. However, to achieve this, modern scientists would need to replicate the pyramid's effects within the optical range of the electromagnetic spectrum. This leaves us with an intriguing question. What did the ancient Egyptians do with this wireless energy? Based on images found on the walls of temples and tombs, some researchers believe they used it to power electric lamps. Depictions of what appear to be bulb-like devices connected to wires have fueled this theory. Other evidence suggests the Egyptians may have used antennas for wireless communication, allowing them to transmit messages across great distances. And it is not just Egypt where signs of advanced ancient technology can be found. Civilizations around the world, from the Americas to Asia, have left behind clues of their remarkable understanding of science and engineering. For example, ancient texts and religious scriptures often mention concepts like sonic levitation and anti-gravity, ideas that seem far beyond what we associate with early human history. When we look at the incredible architecture of ancient buildings, it becomes clear that these civilizations possessed deep scientific knowledge. Some researchers believe these advanced cultures might have been more scientifically advanced than we are today in certain areas. Over time, many of these civilizations disappeared, leaving only traces of their innovations behind. This raises another thought. Throughout history, primitive and advanced societies have often coexisted. Even in modern times, isolated tribes in the Amazon or remote parts of Africa live in ways that seem untouched by modern technology. Could the same have been true in ancient times, with highly advanced societies flourishing alongside more primitive ones? The next question to explore is whether the Great Pyramid contains something even more remarkable. Clues about the dimensions of our planet, encoded on an extraordinary scale. A monument of mathematical genius. Among its many mysteries, the Great Pyramid's position on the planet might be the most astonishing. Experts say the Great Pyramid is the most accurately aligned structure ever built by humans. It faces true north, with only a tiny error of about 3/60th of a degree. Some believe that when it was first constructed, it was aligned perfectly with the North Pole. Over time, the position of the North Pole has shifted slightly, accounting for this small discrepancy. But the alignment is just the start of the pyramid's mysteries. Here is where it gets even stranger. The dimensions of the Great Pyramid seem to encode the size of the Earth itself. If you multiply the height of the pyramid by 43,200, you get the polar radius of the Earth. Similarly, if you multiply the base perimeter by 43,200, you get the equatorial circumference of the Earth. This isn't a coincidence. The number 43,200 is significant because it comes from the precession of the Earth's axis. The Earth wobbles on its axis at a rate of 1 degree every 72 years, and 43,200 is a multiple of 72. It is mind-boggling to think that a structure built thousands of years ago could hold this kind of information. But there is more. The pyramid is also aligned to the center of the landmass of the Earth. This means the east-west line that crosses the most land and the north-south line that crosses the most land intersect in just 2 places, one in the ocean and the other at the Great Pyramid. This precise alignment makes its location even more mysterious. How could the builders of the pyramid have known so much about the Earth? Mainstream theories suggest the pyramid was built in the early Bronze Age, a time when most of the world was still agricultural. Yet the precision and complexity of the Great Pyramid's design rival modern engineering. Some of its features and measurements were only fully understood in recent decades. The tools and techniques used to create such a precise structure remain unknown. There is no clear explanation for how the ancient Egyptians gained the knowledge needed to align the pyramid so perfectly or to encode the dimensions of the planet into its design. These questions leave experts baffled. Adding to the mystery is the fact that this pyramid is far more advanced than other structures from its time period. It's not just the size or alignment, it is the way every aspect of the pyramid seems to reflect a deeper understanding of the world. The Great Pyramid stands out as an anomaly, a structure that seems far ahead of its time. Whether this knowledge was the result of trial and error, advanced tools we've yet to discover, or something else entirely, it's clear the Great Pyramid wasn't built by chance. Its placement, alignment, and encoded measurements suggest a purpose far beyond what we currently understand. The Great Pyramid continues to raise more questions than answers, leaving us to wonder how ancient civilizations achieved feats that still inspire awe today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.